You know, there was a time once when the biggest problems in your average household would involve things like risking to go outside in your underwear to collect the mail, or finding a substitute for toilet paper while still maintaining some form of decency. Well, those days are long behind us, now that Western leaders have collectively decided to shove crayons up their nose as opposed to conduct diplomacy. So given how we are all handcuffed to the express bus going down the primrose path towards a dystopian future where everything is radioactive, I figured now might be a good time to play a more light-hearted game to distract me from the horror shit show currently playing in all theaters around town that is global politics. Wargroove 2, as the title suggests, is the long-awaited strategy game sequel from developer Chucklefish, whose news of release must have been as highly anticipated as the announcement of the 2024 US presidential debate, or the debut of Tesla's new self-driving cyber coffin on wheels program. Now for those of you who are curious about my feelings towards the first game, I did a complete playthrough on my channel a while back, and overall it left a decent first impression, especially in the gameplay department. It was however let down by its immature writing, which reads like something spelled out with yellow piss found on the walls of a public restroom. That being said, it has been 4 years since the first game, and a lot of changes can happen in that time. So having tempered my expectations, I picked up Wargroove 2 and bravely peeked inside the secret garage of these developers in search of the long-awaited answers to the age-old question of what the hell have these nerds been up to all this time. Spoiler warning, not a whole fucking lot. What's truly bizarre about this revelation is just seeing how little effort was put into the sequel at all. Like seriously, for the price of $30, all you're paying for is 5 new units and a roguelike mode. Like crikey, were these developers even trying? It's like being handed a can of expired corn wrapped in old newspapers during the yearly Office Secret Santa. And what makes this experience even worse is the fact that all the factions are completely mirrored, meaning that the added content don't really offer anything new strategically. Like hear me out for a sec developers, I get that you need to balance your game for multiplayer, which in itself is about as easy as teaching a practicing nun how to juggle balloons filled with sailor jizz, but if all you're gonna do is just copy and paste all the units across every faction, then you're pretty much defeating the whole point of having unique factions in the first place. Like, why go through the effort of building all this lore around a society of desert samurai or a forest full of tree spirits, when in the end they all have the exact same archers, cavalry, and flying strippers as everyone else? It's the same old if everybody is special then nobody is conundrum that's been crippling the education system in recent years, resulting in what could only be described as an industry-wide leave no child behind policy. Like seriously, what's wrong with having different factions that encourage unique playstyles? Not only are you giving your players more options to find a style that might suit them, but you're also creating more strategic depth to your game, as opposed to just having every match devolve into a race to see who can gobble up more resources, like a Japanese game show trying to promote obesity. On top of all that, the level designs themselves were less inspiring than a documentary on French war heroes, resorting to the same old tired formula of either raiding the enemy stronghold or giving the general the nipple cripple. You do occasionally get a break from the daily fraternity prank and are instead graced with a level whose sole purpose, and I kid you not, is just to move your character around and listen to meaningless exposition. So either these developers have no clue on how to incorporate gameplay into their story, or perhaps they decide to add these levels as some sort of practical joke to see if they can torment their players into eating their own keyboards. And if none of that was enough to make you lose your sanity, the game continues to do that annoying thing where they insist on grading your performance at the end of every single level. You know, the kind of game design that's made to appeal towards people in serious medical need for constant pampering and who refuse to graduate from high school. I suppose I should give the developers a little bit of credit here, considering how they at least made the effort to add some complexity to their grading system by having specific combat challenges, instead of the usual can you win within a certain amount of turns bullshit. However, this still comes across as the developers trying to force me to play in a way they want me to play, as some sort of elaborate attempt to backseat game me from beyond the confines of space and time. Like, what's with the hand-holding developers? I already muddled my way through the instruction manual that was your first game, so I'm sure I can navigate my way through this one as well without risk of being mugged and left in an alleyway short of a kidney. As for the writing itself, holy Shakespeare's tits, where do I even start? Most of the dialogue can be skipped without any impact to the overall plot. All the characters feel like they'd rather be organizing a kindergarten play instead of conducting a war. Every major conflict between each faction is the result of either a stupid misunderstanding or just some asshole throwing a MacGuffin into a room full of sharp objects. Listen Chucklefish, I get that creative writing isn't everyone's cup of tea, but how about you at least establish some of the basics? Like, who the hell are these people? Why are they at war with each other? What are the consequences if they are defeated? This really shouldn't be a tall order, it's basic story structure we're talking about here. The writing is bad. It's not the Ubisoft kind of bad that makes you want to drown yourself in alcohol until you either drop out of your history class or spontaneously combust. It's not even a Capcom kind of bad that makes you think a kick in the balls is a socially acceptable form of currency. No, this is a Disney kind of bad where everything is watered down until they're safe to consume for babies and people with no self-esteem, where every conflict in the world can be solved through hugs and the power of friendship. It's the kind of irrational storytelling so divorced from reality that it triggers people to get up in the middle of the night, drive to the nearest bar, and smash a beer bottle over the head of a complete stranger for being in the wrong place at the wrong time.